If you have a daughter and you are planning to send her to a boarding school, please listen carefully to this story, because what happened to Amara Okoye in a boarding school in Port Harcourt shocked an entire city. A bright girl, a loving family, a school that looked perfect from the outside, but inside those walls, something terrible was happening, something no parent imagined. And by the time the truth came out, it was already too late. But the most shocking part, the signs were there from the beginning, yet no one paid attention. The Okoye family lived in a quiet neighborhood in Port Harcourt. Mr. Okoye was a successful businessman who owned several electronic shops in the popular markets around the city. His wife, Grace Okoye, was a nurse who worked long shifts at a private hospital. They had only one child, 15-year-old Amara. Amara was the type of girl every parent prayed for. Polite, brilliant, quiet. She loved books more than parties and spent most evenings helping her mother in the kitchen or studying in her room. But Mr. Okoye had one worry. Amara needs discipline, he often said. She's too soft. The world is not soft. One evening during dinner, he finally said the thing that would change everything. I think it's time Amara goes to boarding school. Grace froze. Her spoon stopped halfway to her mouth. Boarding school? She repeated slowly. Yes. Grace shook her head immediately. No, I don't like the idea. Mr. Okoye frowned. Why? She's our only child. That's exactly why she must go, he replied. Grace sighed. But she's happy here. Mr. Okoye leaned forward. Grace, do you know the kind of competition children face today? She must toughen up. She must learn independence. Grace looked at Amara, who had gone quiet during the conversation. Amara, what do you think? Amara forced a small smile. If Daddy thinks it's best, I'll go. But inside her heart, something felt wrong. She didn't know why. She just did. 2 weeks later, Mr. Okoye drove them to Royal Crest International Girls Boarding School, located on the outskirts of Port Harcourt. The school looked impressive. Tall gates, beautiful buildings, clean lawns, perfect uniforms. Grace tried to convince herself everything would be fine. This place looks good, she whispered. Mr. Okoye smiled proudly. I told you. The principal welcomed them warmly, a tall woman named Mrs. Ibrahim. We are very strict with discipline, she explained. No phones, no unnecessary visits. Students focus only on their studies. Mr. Okoye nodded approvingly. Perfect. Grace still felt uneasy. Can parents call their children often? Mrs. Ibrahim smiled politely. Only during approved hours. Grace didn't like that answer, but Mr. Okoye had already made up his mind. That evening was Amara's first night in the hostel. The room had 8 beds. 7 girls were already there. Some looked friendly, others looked different. One girl sat on the top bunk watching her carefully. Her name was Vanessa, the richest girl in the school and the most feared. Vanessa smiled slowly. So, new girl. Amara nodded politely. Yes. Vanessa climbed down from her bed. Welcome to Royal Crest. Her voice sounded friendly, but something about her smile felt wrong. Thank you, Amara said softly. Vanessa leaned closer. There are rules here. Amara blinked. What kind of rules? Vanessa looked around the room, then whispered, You'll find out soon. 3 days later, Amara met Kioma, one of the few girls who seemed kind. They sat together during lunch. Kioma lowered her voice. Let me give you advice. Amara listened. Stay away from Vanessa and her friends. Why? Kioma hesitated. Just trust me. Amara frowned. What do they do? Kioma glanced around nervously. They control everything here. Students, prefects, even some teachers. Amara laughed lightly. That sounds impossible. Kioma's face remained serious. You'll see. A week passed, then 2. Amara began noticing strange things. Girls sneaking out at night, whispers in dark corners, students crying quietly in bathrooms, and Vanessa always watching. One night, Amara woke up suddenly. She looked at the clock, 2:17 a.m. The room was half empty. Several girls were gone, including Vanessa. Amara whispered to Kioma, "Where did they go?" Kioma turned pale. "Go back to sleep." But just sleep. Amara didn't sleep because from somewhere far away, she heard something terrifying, a girl screaming. The next morning, the next morning, the school acted like nothing happened. Classes continued, teachers smiled, students laughed, but Amara noticed something disturbing. One girl from their room, BC Jude, was missing. Amara asked Kioma quietly, "Where is BC?" Kioma avoided her eyes. She transferred. "Overnight?" "Yes." Amara knew something wasn't right. That evening, Amara wrote a letter to her mother. "Mommy, something strange is happening here. I don't feel safe." But before she could send it, Vanessa appeared behind her. "What are you writing?" Amara jumped. "Just a letter home." Vanessa snatched the paper. Her smile disappeared. "You complain too much for a new girl." Amara's heart raced. "I didn't say anything bad." Vanessa leaned close. "Listen carefully. Whatever happens in this school stays in this school." Then she tore the letter into pieces. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. Her heart kept pounding. She remembered the scream, Bc's disappearance, Vanessa's warning. Something terrible was happening inside this school, and she was trapped. But what Amara didn't know was that the worst was still coming, because 3 weeks later, she would discover the secret hidden beneath the school. A secret that would make the entire city of Port Harcourt shake with fear. And when parents finally learned the truth, many would regret ever sending their daughters there. But by then, the damage had already been done. If you're enjoying this story so far, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And don't forget to subscribe, because as we dive in, you will discover what really happened to BC, the terrifying midnight ritual inside the school, why some girls were suddenly disappearing. Trust me, it will make you question every boarding school decision as a parent. The screams didn't stop. Amara tried to tell herself it was just her imagination, but deep inside, she knew something terrible was happening in Port Harcourt, and it had nothing to do with regular school discipline. The school she once thought was perfect was a trap, and by the time parents would find out the truth, some would never forgive themselves. A week after BC disappeared, Amara couldn't take the fear anymore. She confided in Kioma, who finally broke down in tears. They they do things down there," Kioma whispered, shaking. "Where?" Amara asked, heart racing. Kioma pulled out a folded piece of paper. "A map of the school basement. It's hidden. Very few know about it. And the girls, they don't come back." Amara's hand shook. "This is insane. Why would anyone?" Kioma's eyes darted around nervously. "Vanessa, she knows. They all know. That's why she warns everyone." Amara stared at the map. Beneath the hostel building was a series of rooms, some labeled storage, others just blank, and one marked Room 7, restricted. Her stomach turned. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. The screams echoed in her mind. By 1:45 a.m., she decided she had to see it herself. She sneaked out of her bed, careful not to wake anyone. Kioma followed, her hands trembling. They reached the basement door, heavy, metal, old, but slightly ajar. Amara's heart pounded. "This is crazy," she whispered. "You first," Kioma said, but Amara shook her head. "No, you go first. I can't." They argued quietly until Amara finally stepped forward. The air smelled damp, metallic, like rust and old blood. The basement was dark. Only a single flickering light hung from the ceiling. They tiptoed forward, and then froze. A door at the end of the hallway was slightly open. From inside, they could hear low chanting, slow, rhythmic, menacing. Amara's hand trembled. She peeked through the crack. What she saw would stay with her forever. Several girls were tied to chairs, their faces pale and eyes wide with terror. A group of older girls, led by Vanessa, were chanting over them, and behind them, a man, no teacher, no student, stood watching, his face hidden under a hood, but his presence cold, terrifying. Amara gasped. Kioma grabbed her arm. We have to get out, now. Vanessa turned suddenly. Amara, Kioma, she hissed. Before they could react, the basement door slammed shut behind them. Amara and Kioma were trapped. You shouldn't be here, Vanessa said. Her friendly smile was gone. Why? Why are you doing this? Amara stammered. Vanessa's eyes glinted. Do you think this school is just about books? It's about obedience, control, power. The world is cruel. We prepare our own. Kioma whispered, horrified. They? They're sacrificing us, she said. Amara shook her head in disbelief. This can't be real. Vanessa leaned close. Some girls never come back, and no one asks questions. Just when Amara thought it was over, a sudden knock distracted everyone. A man's voice. What are you doing here? A tall, stern figure appeared. Mr. Okoye's business partner, Mr. Emeka, had been visiting the school unexpectedly and overheard some staff talking about strange activities. Vanessa's group panicked, but the man didn't notice them fully. Amara and Kioma saw their chance. They ran down corridors, through storage rooms, across dark hallways. Every step echoed in the silence. But Vanessa was fast. She cornered Amara near the stairs. You think you can escape? She sneered. Amara froze. Kioma grabbed a metal pipe from the storage room. Go! She shouted. Amara lunged at Vanessa, while Kioma struck her from behind. Vanessa screamed, stunned. Adrenaline surged. Amara ran upstairs, Kioma behind her. By the time the staff realized something was wrong, the girls were gone. The next day, Amara sent a hidden message to her mother. Mommy, don't send me here. Something terrible is happening. Please come. Grace couldn't believe it. Mr. Okoye initially dismissed it. It's just fear of boarding school, he said. But a week later, Grace went herself. And what she saw made her blood run cold. Other parents were crying, begging to remove their children. Teachers who spoke up were quietly transferred. The city of Port Harcourt buzzed with rumors, but nobody dared investigate fully. Amara kept finding more clues. Disappearing girls who were never mentioned. Again, secret rooms hidden behind walls. Older students with strange scars, and a pattern. Girls chosen based on their backgrounds, wealth, or family influence. Every night, she asked herself, will my parents ever believe me? Or am I alone in this? And then one day, a shocking discovery. One of the missing girls, Bisi, was alive, but changed, silent, her eyes empty. Amara knew the fight had just begun. Emotional tension. Amara's confidence wavered. Could she survive? Could she save the girls trapped inside? Was Vanessa unstoppable? Kioma was trembling constantly, convinced they would never leave alive. And yet, Amara's resolve hardened. She promised herself, no parent should ever have to bury their child for trusting a school, not on my watch. If you're enjoying this story so far, comment below. Where are you watching from? And don't forget to subscribe. By the time Imara realized the depth of the evil inside Port Harcourt's most prestigious girls' school, it was almost too late. Some parents had already lost children. Some girls had vanished, never to be seen again. And Vanessa, the smiling rich girl who everyone feared, was more dangerous than anyone could imagine. Amara and Kioma had returned to the basement that night, but this time they weren't sneaking. They were prepared. They had collected tools, hidden cameras, and messages from BZ, who had left subtle hints in notebooks before being silenced. As they descended into the dark metallic air of the basement, Amara noticed strange symbols on the walls, ritualistic markings scratched hastily into concrete. This isn't just a school, Amara whispered. Kioma shivered. No, it's a trap, a cult. At the end of the corridor, room 7, the restricted room, stood open. Inside, they found the man in the hood, and the truth was worse than they imagined. Amara Okoye, he said calmly, as if he'd been expecting her. Her heart raced. Who? Who are you? He removed the hood slowly. It was Mr. Ibrahim, the school principal's husband, and a wealthy, well-connected businessman in Port Harcourt. His voice was cold. This school was never about education. It's about selection, power, control, loyalty. Only the strongest survive. Amara's stomach churned. You're hurting the girls. He smiled. Hurt? No, we are preparing them. But some fail to follow the rules. Kioma whispered, terrified. BC. Amara's eyes widened as BC stepped forward, her movements stiff, her eyes vacant. She survived, but they broke her mind, Amara realized. Vanessa stepped forward. Her usual arrogance was amplified. You'll understand soon, Vanessa said to Amara. What did you do to them? Amara asked, voice shaking. They learned obedience, Vanessa replied. Some girls are stronger, like me. Others fade away. Amara clenched her fists. No one controls my friends. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. You can try, but rules here are not for negotiation. Amara knew they couldn't fight directly. They were outnumbered. Using clues from BC's notebook, Amara led Kioma through a hidden service tunnel beneath the basement, one of the few exits even Vanessa didn't know about. The tunnel smelled of damp earth and decay. Each step echoed in the darkness. Suddenly, footsteps behind them. Vanessa and two older girls chased them, screaming. Amara whispered a plan. Split up at the next fork, meet outside at the main gate. Kioma hesitated. You go, I'll hold them off. Amara shook her head. No, we stick together. We survive together. At the fork, Kioma threw a bucket of water toward their pursuers. The older girls screamed as the water hit electrical wiring. Sparks flew. They ran, bursting out of the tunnel into the night air, gasping for breath. Amara and Kioma ran straight to the main gate. Grace and a few parents had arrived earlier that night. Alerts from other worried parents had started a small revolt. Police were called, and by morning, news crews swarmed Royal Crest International. Inside, investigators found hidden basement rooms used for obedience drills, evidence of psychological and physical abuse, missing girls who had been forced into illegal transfers, some smuggled out of state, ritualistic markings that hinted at a secret society running the school. Vanessa was caught in the chaos, screaming and resisting, her control finally broken. The city of Port Harcourt was shocked. Parents were outraged. Mr. Ibrahim and several complicit staff were arrested. Amara finally hugged her mother, sobbing. I was so scared, Mommy, she whispered. Grace held her tightly, tears streaming. We should have listened sooner, Grace admitted. Amara looked at Kioma and Bisi, who was slowly recovering. It's over, Amara said softly. But in her heart, she knew the scars, physical and emotional, would take years to heal. The story of Royal Crest International became national news. Every parent in Port Harcourt and across Nigeria started questioning the safety of boarding schools. Amara and Grace became advocates for stricter oversight of schools, and Amara shared her story widely. She said emotionally, before sending your daughter to a boarding school, look carefully, ask questions, trust your instincts, and always listen to your child. Sometimes the signs are there, and ignoring them can be a tragedy. Amara survived, Kioma survived, BC survived. The school was shut down. But the story of Royal Crest International Girls Boarding School remained a chilling warning for every parent in Port Harcourt and beyond. Before sending your daughter to a boarding school, watch closely, question everything, trust your instincts. One mistake can change a life forever. If you've been shocked so far, comment below. Where are you watching from? And don't forget to subscribe because stories like this happen more often than you think, and sharing them could save a life.